Hippocrates peri aeron hydaton topon, chapter 6. Finally, the winds from the west. Peri men tuton hode eke. That is the situation concerning these cities, that is, the cities facing the east from the previous chapter, ete his quidem ita habet. Hokosai de prostas dusias keuntai, hokosai prostas dusias keuntai, kai aute sinesti skepe ton pneumaton ton apotes eus pneonton, skepe ton pneumaton ton apotes eus pneonton. In this one instance, the author specifies east with the word don. Tata therma pneumata pararee kai tapsukra apoton arcton, anange tautas tas polias tessin kestai noserotaten. And to those cities that lie towards the settings of the sun, and for whom there is shelter from the winds blowing from the dawn, while the hot winds and the cold winds from the bears blow laterally past them, it is necessary that these cities have the most unhealthy position. Quae ver ad ocasus sitae sunt, quae ad ocasus sitae sunt, et ipsae aventis ab oriente spirantibus protectae sunt, et tum calidi venti leviter afflant, tum frigidi ab ursis praeterflant, eas urbes neces est situ morbosissimo positas esse. Proton mengar ta hydata ulam pra, aetionda hotiho to heothinon cat eke host epitopolu, hostis toi hydati en catamignumenos to lampron apanisde. Hogar helios prin anno Athenae uc epilampe. For, in the first place, the waters are not clear, and the reason for this is that the morning fog lasts a long time, which fog, being mixed in with the water, makes its clearness disappear. For the sun, before it has risen high on the horizon, does not shine down upon the waters. Primum enim aquae non sunt splendidae. Causa ver est quod aer matutinum tempus ut plurimum occupat, qui aquae immixtus claritatem eius disperdit. Sol enim preusquam elevetur non illustrat. Tu de terra os heothen men aurae psucrae pneusi cae drosoi piptusi, to de loipon helios encatadunon hos tamalista di epse tus anthropus. Secondly, in the summer, cold breezes blow in the morning and dews fall, and for the rest of the day, the sun, as it advances towards its setting, thoroughly scorches the inhabitants. Aestate vero mane quidem aurae frigidae spirant et ros decedit, de cetero vero sol ad ipsas occidens quam maxime homines percoquit. And I confess I don't know what Cornarius's ad ipsas refers to. If you can figure it out, please let me know. From among the collection of Plutarch's works called Moralia is one called On Being a Busybody, Peri Polypragmosunes. In it, Plutarch gives an example of a city that once suffered from its westward orientation, namely his own birthplace, Chaeronea in Boeotia. But there was an interesting solution. Apnun escotenein e duscemeron oikian e nosode pugen men isos ariston. It is perhaps best to avoid a house which has no ventilation, or is gloomy, or cold in winter, or unhealthy. Anda pilocore tis hyposuneteas esti kai. But if someone loves the place out of familiarity, there are, and he goes on to name measures you can take to ameliorate the situation. Kai poles tines hutos metathentes opelesan. Forget amelioration, some cities have even gained from such measures. Hosper ten emen patrida pros stepuron anemon keklimenen, kai ton helion eredonta deles apotu panasu decomenen, epitas anatolas trapena legusin hypo tu kaironos. So in the case of my own town, which used to face the wind Zephyrus and receive the full force of the sun in the late afternoon from Parnassus, they say that it was turned around by Chiron, its mythical founders, to face the east. Dio kai acrous te ekos enai kai arostus, ton te noselmaton panton met eken meros ton pro eremenon. Ton noselmaton ton pro eremenon refers to the detailed list of diseases provided in the south-north pair of cities. Udengar autoisin apokekritai. For this reason, the inhabitants are likely to be pale and sickly, and to have their share of all the aforementioned diseases, for none are peculiar to them. Qua propter etiam de colores ac infirmos ipsos esse par est, et ex omnibus praedictis morbis participare. Null enim re ab ipsis separantur. The adjective arostos is formed from an alpha privative plus rostos, the root ro as in the verb hronumi. Hronumi means to strengthen, but it is most often seen in its perfect passive, eromai, to have strength. The second person perfect passive imperative, eroso, is frequently seen in letter closings like Latin vale and English farewell. Note that gar in the clause udengar autoisin apokekritai is an emendation. The text in the manuscripts is an example of a syndeton, a clause without a connecting conjunction or particle. This is unusual but not impossible in Greek prose, and Joanna in the French edition left it as is, but other editors could not abide it and proposed emendations such as the insertion of gar. Diller altered the overall construction by accepting the reading found in Gadaldino of toi rather than ton. What in any case does uden autoisin apokekritai mean? Does it mean, as Cornarius and others took it, for in no way have the aforementioned diseases eluded the inhabitants of this city, where uden is adverbial, and the subject of apokekritai is ta noselmata ta pro eremena? Or does it mean that there is no disease, uden is the subject, that has been allotted uniquely to the inhabitants of this city? For the perfect passive apokekritai in this sense, see this passage in Plato's Republic. Coincidentally, the passage involves Asclepius. No hypochondriacs or chronically ill allowed in the ideal state, says Socrates, and according to him, Asclepius shared this harsh view and only invented medicine for those who were otherwise healthy and would bounce back quickly to be of use to the state. Socrates, uk un tauta gignosconta pomen kai Asclepion, tus men pusete kai di aite hygienos ekontas tasomata, nosema deti apokekrimenon iskontas en autois, tutois men kai taute te hexe kata dexai iachikein, parmakois te kai tomais ta nosemata ek balonta auton, ten eothuion prostaten diaitan, hiname ta politica blaptoi. Are we not to say, then, that Asclepius too, knowing these things, on the one hand, those who have healthy bodies by nature and through their own care, but have some illness distinctly formed within themselves, for such as these, and in this condition, he developed the art of medicine, and by getting rid of their illnesses with drugs and surgery, he ordered them to resume their habitual way of life, so that no harm should be done to the state? Asclepius, Socrates' interlocutor, says, was a politician, as you see it. Baruponus te ekos enai kai brankodeas diaton eera hoti akatatos hosepitopolu autothi gignetai kai notodes. Utegar hupoton boreon ek krinetai spodra. Ugar pros ecusi ta pneumata, hatep pros ecusin autesi kai pros keontai, hudate notataestin. Epetoiauta ta epites hesperes pneumata. Ta epites hesperes pneumata. In this one instance, the author specifies west with the word evening. This last clause, as it is found in our manuscripts, lacks a verb and makes no grammatical sense. Two emendations were proposed as far back as the 16th century. The one shown here, insertion of toiauta with esti understood. The other was to excise the phrase altogether, which Diller opted for in the German edition, and which Cornarius must have been aware of because the clause is absent in his translation. We reject excising the clause because it wouldn't allow us to underline hesperes. And it is likely that the inhabitants have deep voices and hoarse due to the fog, since it is generally impure and moist in such places. For neither is it sufficiently purified by the northerly winds, for these winds do not settle in there, and the winds that do settle in and persist in these cities are the most humid, for such are the winds from the west. Vere simile quest ipsos gravi voce praedetos ac raucosos esse, propter aerem, eo quod impurus plerunque istic est et morbosus. Cornarius read nos odes here, not notodes. Neque enim ab aquilonaribus valde expurgatur, non enim perseverant venti, qui vero perseverant ac ipsis incumbunt aquosissimi existunt. Et oiceta metaporoi malista hetesis hetoi autetes polios, catatas tes himeres metabolas, hoti pollu to meson gignetai tu te heothinu kai tu prostendelen. And such an orientation of the city most resembles the autumn, from the perspective of the changes over the course of the day, in that the difference in temperature between the dawn and the late afternoon is great. Nam venti occidentales similes sunt autumno, et huius modi civitatis situs est ad deei mutationes, eo quod multum temporis inter matutinum ac vespertinum intercedit. Pollu to meson is an indirect way of saying there are two extremes of temperature at day's beginning and at day's end. In this pair, the author explicitly compared the lay of the cities facing east and west with the two seasons, spring and fall. The same comparison is implicit for the south-north pair, according to Joanna, namely that the southerly exposure resembles the summer and the northerly exposure the winter, so that the author establishes a relationship between the local diseases due to wind exposure and the seasonal diseases. So, in this case, the cities facing the west will have local diseases due to the extremes of temperature within the same day. And elsewhere in the Hippocratic corpus, these diseases are called autumnal diseases, regardless of the season they occur in. See this aphorism, in tesin horesin, hotan tes autes himeres potemen talpos poteda psychos ginetai, pthinoporina ta nosemata pros decestai cre. During the seasons, when on the same day occurs now heat and now cold, you must expect them to experience diseases that are autumnal. and this passage from the work Humors peri Cumon. Haide korai prostas horas kakos kemenai toi auta tictusi nosemata hopoi an hehore, hoion anomalon talpos e psychos tes autes hemeres, hotan toi auta poie, tina porinata ente korai ta nosemata, kai entes in alesin horesi katalogon. Countries badly situated with respect to the seasons engender diseases analogous to the season, e.g., when it produces irregular heat or cold on the same day, diseases in the country are autumnal, and similarly in the case of the other seasons. As you have now seen, the author presented the 4 cities facing the winds from the 4 cardinal directions in 2 distinct pairs, south-north and east-west. The cities facing east and west are in part contrasted with one another and in part with the other pair. Overall, the cities facing the east are the healthiest, those facing the west the sickest. The explicit oppositions in the east-west pair are, first, the waters are clear in the former, murky in the latter. In the former, the inhabitants look and sound healthy. In the latter, their skin and voices not so good. Finally, they resemble the spring and the fall, respectively, on account of the moderation between hot and cold in the former, the extremes of hot and cold within a single day in the latter. At the ends of the chapters on the winds, we've given you a brief taste of the coexistence of a rational and scientific approach to medicine as conveyed in AWP and the Hippocratic Corpus on the one hand, and the religious approach to healing as represented especially by the cult of Asclepius on the other. We've looked at some testimonies about Asclepius in ancient literature, but another important source of information about the healing practices in the Asclepiaea is epigraphic, especially from the most famous Asclepieion in Epidaurus. For example, there are 2 stelae there that record an abundance of individual case histories from the temple/hospital and the votive offerings of satisfied patients to the god. The heading on the first stele says God and good fortune, Theos, tuke agatha, and under that Iamata tu Apollonos kai tu Asclepiou, cures of Apollo and Asclepius. You'll notice that, just as textual critics have to emend the text from manuscripts, epigraphists must try to supply the text from the stone where it has been rubbed off or broken off. Both require ingenious skill. The first case on the stele is that of Clio, whose complaint was that she remained pregnant for 5 years. However, let's jump ahead to the case of Hermoticus of Lampsacus, who came to Epidaurus because of certain illnesses. Hermoticos Lampsakenos Acrates tu somatos. Tuton enkatheodonta iasato kai ekelesato exotonta liton enenken esto hieron hoposon dunaito megiston. Hodaton pro tu abatu kemenon enike. Hermoticus of Lampsacus, paralyzed in body. This one, when he slept in the temple, the god healed and ordered him upon coming out to bring to the temple as large a stone as he could. The man brought the stone which now lies before the abaton. And it just happens that Hermoticus's votive stone has survived, inscribed with this dedication written in meter. Hermoticos Lampsakenos, ses arates paradeg Asclepia, tond anatheca petron a eramenos, passin horan paneron, opsin tes technes, pringa sas esceras elten, son te technon, kema nusupos dugeras, impuos on stetos keron taquates, sude paian, pesas me arastai tonde anoston diagen. As an example of your power, Asclepius, I have put up this rock, which I had lifted up, manifest for all to see, and evidence of your art. For before coming under your hands and those of your children, I was stricken by a wretched illness, having an abscess in my chest and being paralyzed in my hands. But you, Paeon, by ordering me to lift up this rock, made me live free from disease. Hippocrates, or whoever wrote AWP, ticked off in Chapter 1 the things the aspiring itinerant physician must study, above all the seasons, the winds, and the different types of water. Jumping out of that order, he tackled winds first, and now in the next 3 chapters, water.